Friday night racing
on Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.
And a very good afternoon to you. You are very welcome along to Friday Night Racing, of course brought to you by goracing.ie. No Johnny Ward with us this week, but we have suitable replacements in the form of David Jennings, the Racing Post Deputy Irish Editor, and we're also joined by the jockey Finny Maguire. Lads, you're both very welcome. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Johnny's not here to celebrate after.
Compare me to Johnny Ward, it's not a good start.
I know, well, or it could be a great one. Who knows? He's not even here to take the glory after we had a couple of winners last week at the Dublin Racing Festival. So hopefully we'll get a few more to add to the Injured Jockeys Fund a little bit later on. Finny, normally we just do these interviews at the start where it's like a career retrospective for people. Granted, you're only 20, so it wouldn't be a very long interview, but there's big news this week really that we're going to start with instead of the normal start. David, the equine flu situation in the UK, there's some breaking news in the last 15-20 minutes about it.
Yeah, it's obviously not good. A further 3 cases have been reported, positive cases from Donald McCain's yard, which is obviously not good. And what's really not good about it is that one of them ran at Ayr earlier on this week, and that was the day that Gordon Elliott and I think 7 Irish trainers had runners. So that's a little bit scary. Hopefully, obviously, this is something that needs to be brought to a head fairly soon. The BHA have taken drastic measures to cancel racing at 11:30 on a Wednesday night for Thursday racing. That's drastic measures, and it's just something, it's so contagious that it's so contagious that basically something needed to be done ASAP, and that's what they've done. And it's just, I was hoping to be back racing next Wednesday, but when you see 3 more cases, it just doesn't augur well for racing starting back next Wednesday. I'd say it'll be a little bit longer of a wait. We had Cornelius Lycett on the show last night covering the story. We've got a quick clip here of him talking about the BHA and just how quick they were with their actions. Have a look.
It is striking with the British Horse Racing Authority, which is much criticised, that it has actually acted quickly and efficiently, and they were up in their pyjamas last night to actually call off racing today. The announcement came, I'd gone to bed, for example. Most of the people I know had gone to bed at sort of 11:25. They put out the statement last night that there'd been no racing today as a result of these 3 positives that Donald McCain says that came about as a result of him telling his vets he was a bit worried about the health of 1 or 2 of the horses in his big string. So they had a good look and they came up with the positives. They then contacted the British Horse Racing Authority, and because there'd been horses running at Ayr and Ludlow and Wolverhampton this week, it was felt the best thing to do was just to say, right, let's just close everything down.
In fairness, David, they did act fast, and that's what you want. Can you maybe give us an idea of what the worst case scenario is here, what the best case scenario is? Because it's a big, broad range of outcomes. There
is, yeah. I suppose the timing couldn't be any worse. Cheltenham, as we know, you've probably done plenty of news bulletins. I haven't seen one yet where Cheltenham hasn't been mentioned. So that tells you how big it is. It starts 4 weeks on Tuesday. So if we don't get racing back next week, you're talking about, that's another week, then you're 3 weeks to Cheltenham. So then it starts getting really edgy, really edgy. And they're betting, actually, Paddy Power at the moment are betting on whether, racing will go ahead at Cheltenham on that date. So it might need to be pushed back a week. Hopefully, touch wood, it's not going to come that far. And they have caught it early enough. These latest 3 cases do worry me a little bit. Obviously, it only broke about 15 minutes ago in the Racing Post, but it's just a little bit worrying that one of the horses ran at Ayr, because he had been scoping them prior to racing for a couple of weeks beforehand. So that's the bit that's worrying. So we'll just have to hope and pray, and I'm sure, Finny, you're the same, that everything will be under control in the next, probably you're looking at about a fortnight at this stage, I'd say. Yeah, it's mad. You get into racing journalism, you don't expect to be studying the epidemiology of the influenza virus and how it might spread. Yeah, I got more text messages from friends of mine that said, God, I never knew you're a genius on equine influenza, which I am not, for starters, but it's just one thing that you never expect to be talking about. And there I was all day yesterday looking up symptoms of equine influenza, and it actually happened in 2007 in Sydney, and their spring carnival was called off because of it, but they hadn't been vaccinated for equine influenza. So that's obviously worrying that all these horses have been vaccinated against. And I was listening to an interview of Philip Hobbs. He had vaccinated them already this year, and he was vaccinating them again yesterday, twice in 1 year, not because of what happened with the Donald McCain horses, but just that there was rumours around of this bug basically spreading. So he's been doing it twice in 1 year. They recommend once a year. He's been doing it twice. So it obviously was a big worry. Yeah, and the other thing is that apparently some of the horses that have been found to have the influenza had already been vaccinated, so it might be a strain. It's like people who get the flu, it's exactly the same as human flu. I saw somebody explain that the symptoms are the same. The horses feel as miserable as humans do, and not man flu, real flu. Yeah. I seen a great tweet actually from Nick Goff on Twitter. He says when this equine flu broke, it was like, are all the stallions and colts acting like they're dead, and all the fillies are just getting on with it, which I think sums it up actually.
Yeah, so fingers crossed that everything will be okay. Finny, how you doing? We were just chatting off air there. You're living in Kildare, which is obviously the best county in the world, and actually from Cork. So it's a vast step up in living conditions to move from Cork to Kildare.
Yeah, to live in Cork and be a jockey is not really reasonable. It's too far south. Kildare is ideal. It's very central to all the race courses and motorways, every direction coming out of it, so it's great. Tell me a little bit about the ambition for you now, because obviously you've finished college, is that right? You've graduated? Yeah, I did food science and CIT. Okay. Did 3 years at that. Could have done a 4th year, but didn't want to, so I wanted to get out and start giving the horses 100%. So. Right, and what does that mean? Because this is something that, like, we talk to loads of people about. Some jockeys come in and they're full-time professional jockeys and they made that decision when they were a certain age. Some jockeys come in and they're amateur jockeys and they decide that they just want to be amateur jockeys and that's the perfect career path for them. How do you weigh that up, or is that even a conversation for you? Yeah, it is. Like, obviously, while I was in college, it obviously made a lot of sense to be amateur. You wouldn't really be professional and go to college, but just the way things are going, I'm tall enough. I'm just under 6 foot and I'm about 11 stone, but like, if I was to turn professional, I probably would have to really be strict with my diet, which would be doable, but things are going okay at the moment. If only you had a food science degree in the background to help you. Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm just about 6 foot and I'm definitely not 11 stone.
Yeah, but so yeah.
So what's in the decision making? Like, how do you weigh up what you want to do? Well, I suppose you want to be successful anyway. Like, if I'm going to stay amateur, I want to hopefully be successful at that and ride as many winners as I can. It's quite a small pool of riders that do very well as amateurs. You have the top lads like Patrick Mullins and Jamie and Derek. So if you're kind of not breaking into that bracket, you're kind of just floating along. So if I can do well as an amateur, I'm quite happy as an amateur. Okay. But if for some reason things really slowed down, I might have to reevaluate. But yeah, I'm quite happy at the moment anyway. David, how does it work? Is it the same as golf or any of the other sports? When you're an amateur, you have to have a job on the side. Is there another comparison from other sports?
Yeah, I'm sure you're working out in a good few yards as well. So I think you're with Liz Doyle and who else we have?
Enda Bulger and Jessica Harrington and riding work for.
Yeah, so that's essentially his day job, and that's what's most important to him. Like, you see people like Rachel Blackmore, when she turned professional, we laughed. Like, Rachel, I tell Rachel that to her face. I said, "You're mad. What are you doing?" And she was taking advice from Shark Hannon, and people say that's even madder. But look what she's done, like, and it is a big step. Everybody wondered why Nina or Katie didn't turn professional, but look how successful their amateur careers were. Look how successful Patrick Mullins' career is. And I'm sure you get plenty of advice from your dad, who was one of the most successful jump jockeys of all time. So I'm sure he'll be steering you down the right path anyway. Yeah, Dad's a big help. Sure, he knows the game inside out. So any bit of advice is great off him. Even to go home and watch a race back with him, he'd pick up on things that you wouldn't notice. What, like? Ash, like, he's ridden over 1,000 winners. I've ridden about just over 50, so there's no comparison to the experience. So, I'm not too bad now. I would recognise when I have made a mistake now, but at the start you mightn't recognise, and you watch it back with Dad and he'd spot it out straight away. He was my hero. Adrian Maguire growing up, to me, because your dad's family were from Kilmessan and Meath, and I was from Robinson. I was only a couple of miles down the road, and when I started getting into racing at too young of an age, at about 5 or 6, Adrian was the man. And I remember a story, actually. Adrian, your dad, I don't know if he's listening, but if he's listening he won't be happy, but I remember Barton Bank won the King George at Kempton in 93, and he went back again to win in 94, and he was my favourite horse because he had these green colours and stars, and I just loved the colours. And I thought he was an absolute certainty. And I remember, I think I went in with my dad to the bookies, and I think I did a £2 double. Adrian had actually won the Feltham, the Grade 1, earlier on in the day on Brown Hall. The fact that I remember this tells you how much I stalked him. But he won it at, I think, at around 5-1, and then he was riding Barton Bank in the King George, and he was miles clear at the last, miles clear. And the horse Barton Bank made a mistake, and your dad came off him. And I remember just crying, I'd say, for about an hour solid after the race. And I think there's actually a clip of your dad crying after the race as well. But it was just devastating that how could Barton Bank get beaten, and especially when he was in front. He was one of my favourite horses. And your dad he had some career with Viking Flagship and Relkeel and all them top horses. Like he was as good as it got.
I think also there's part of it where he's kind of an island of success in the middle of a long period of not huge success for Irish racing. Irish racing wasn't anything like the powerhouse that it is now, but he was one of the few jockeys to be able to go over and be as dominant as he was, and also to do it in style. Is that right?
Yeah, and he was around at a time where there was a big rivalry with himself and Richard Dunwoody. So Richard Dunwoody was riding for Martin Pipe and Adrian Maguire was riding for David Nicholson. Two biggest stables, two biggest jockeys, and there was a huge rivalry there. I suppose it would be similar to maybe McCoy and Richard Johnson for the last couple of years, or for certainly in the last decade in England. And there was a big rivalry there, and it was fascinating for us to watch, because you had this jockey, a local jockey that wasn't far away from where I was from, and he was winning all these big races, winning at Cheltenham, and it was just fascinating to follow his career, because he was just brilliant in a finish. He was so strong, and like there's countless races I can remember as if they were yesterday. I'm sure I was only a gossin.
Finny, do you watch any of those back? Do you ever kind of get in a YouTube hole of watching your dad back?
Yeah, I have seen replays, most of his big winners, Viking Flagship and Barton Bank and all the good horses, Florida Pearl as well. So, you know, I've seen a few clips of the big ones, yeah.
What's that like when you're watching them? You know, because it's mad. Like, it's that you end up doing something similar.
Yeah, sure, it's great. Like, can only admire him. Like, I was too young to remember him riding, but like everyone that comes up and talks to you about him, they just say how good he was, and like they just say if I was half as good as him, I'd be okay, you know.
And at some point, obviously, you know, you've got to also be your own man at this stage as well. So like, there's that whole aspect of it too. Like, you've got to take your own career path and live your own life.
Yeah, sure. I suppose Dad left school early. I'd say he's probably only 13 or 14, and you know, he was just, horses was all he was ever going to do. I suppose in this day and age, it's kind of more important to get an education. So I went and did that, and at least I have options now. How
did you pick food science as a matter of interest? Was it something that you did think that, like, I will actually pick up some hints and tips and tricks about nutrition here and maybe be able to apply this to the industry a bit?
Yeah, maybe. I did biology and chemistry in school, and I liked them. I was quite good at science, so that just, you know, that's pretty much what the degree is. It's science, it's biology and chemistry. So, and then obviously being a jockey, an amateur jockey, everything you can know about it is a bonus, you know.
Yeah.
About food and that, but you know, I kind of, to be honest, I just eat what I want. You know, I don't apply.
Keep saying that, Finny.
I don't apply much of it, but you know, it's grand.
In a couple of years' time, you'll be like,
Yeah, but it's great to have the knowledge, and you know the right ways to lose weight, you know, when you have
this burger is bad for me, at least you can explain why the trans fatty acids aren't exactly good for you.
Exactly, yeah. But sure,
you can bore your colleagues in the weigh room about it. You shouldn't be eating that.
I still eat it, innit?
I don't really understand how the amateur thing works. If you win prize money, do you get to keep the prize money as an amateur, or does that all work? Is that like...
There's no... It's not like the professional system where money goes into your account. You know, it's up to the owners and trainers what they give you.
Okay.
But, you know...
So that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not set in stone, you're going to get this, but... You know, when you're riding for good people, they look after you.
Yeah, grand. And so, like, because that's obviously, you know, you go to college and you think, I'm going to do a job. You obviously have some career in racing at somewhere in your head in the long run. Is it training? Is it breeding? Is it a little bit of everything?
Haven't really thought that far ahead. I'm just enjoying
jockey,
just enjoying riding at the moment. I don't think I'll be a trainer. It's like, sure, I've seen firsthand. You know, Dad gave up training. Like, it's so hard, you know, to make ends meet. So I don't see myself doing training, but just enjoying riding at the moment, and haven't really thought much past that.
Yeah,
so.
No, that's fair enough, because like, it does seem like this is a lifestyle, really, David, that you have to love it. You kind of need to be someone who is into it, who is happy to do those long hours, early mornings, late night travel, all that kind of stuff.
It's incredible. Like, I've interviewed jockeys. I remember interviewing Barry Cash one time, and he was riding a Big Shoe in the cross-country race at Cheltenham, and all he had for, I think, 2.5 to 3 days was maybe 2 cups of coffee. Like, that's scary stuff altogether. Now, obviously, that's not good from a nutritional point of view, but it's it's a devotion, and it's the only way I can describe it basically is when you see, and I'm sure this has happened to you, Finny, when you see jockeys get a really bad fall, and they could have broken bones, or they could be bleeding, and they could be in really, really severe pain, and their first instinct is, when am I going to get back on the horse? When is my next ride? Can I ride in the next race? There is jockeys that will basically lie and know that something is broken, and yet they will lie just to ride in the next race. And it seems to be across the board, this is the case. They have a really good threshold for pain. I don't know if you're the same, but...
Or bad, too much.
Well, yeah, well, that's it. Like, it's an incredible... Like, their mentality is just phenomenal. And Finny will probably allude to this a bit more. Like, it's that quest for winners. Like, it must be just an incredible feeling to ride a winner, and that you will go through any pain, be it starving yourself, be it coming back from an injury. You'll go through any pain to get there. I don't know if we'll ever experience this. I don't know what the equivalent is for us, but they have it and we don't.
What was your first winner?
It was on a horse Dad trained called Dazzler in Listowel. I was 16. I think it was my third ride. Yeah, so...
How did you win it?
It was an amateur flat race. It was my first time ever out of stalls, actually. I'd never even been in a stall ever. So I just grabbed a hold of his mane and kicked on. He was a great little horse. He was really tough for me. And we just beat Sarah O'Brien in a driving finish. So Scrand was up against, I think Dermot Weld had a runner in it, and Aidan O'Brien. So up against all the big lads. So it was great to win it.
Yeah, and you've obviously, you've ended up riding winners for Dermot Welder in Galway as well.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I think that was my first winner in Listowel, and my second winner was for Dermot in Galway just a couple of months later.
It's not bad.
So yeah, I think he might have taken notice of me that day in Listowel, which was great. You know?
One of the things that the amateur jockeys seem to have is a much higher winning percentage because they ride so few races. But if you start winning, you get on good horses. It's kind of it's weird compared to the professional jockeys who, if they have like a 5% win rate, that's not bad. If they've got a 10% win rate, well, they're one of the greatest jockeys of all time, you know. Whereas the amateurs, because there's so few, you kind of need to be getting winners or placing quite a bit.
Yeah, sure. There's only one race for amateurs, the bumper at the end of the day on the race courses. So, you know, if you're not getting good rides, you can really go a long period of time without getting a winner because it's just one race a day.
And is that part of the reason why you want to ride out for different trainers as well, so that you get to know them and you can get to kind of have those chats and kind of just be front of mind when they're making decisions about who is going to get a ride?
Yeah, I think it's good to spread myself around anyway. You know, to get into a couple of different yards, because you just have, when you're showing your faces in them places, they're going to think you when they need a jockey. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, just getting into a few different places.
Yeah, it's a hard old existence. It's difficult, isn't it, David?
It is, yeah. I was actually, the day you rode the winner for Dermot Weld at Galway, I was actually working for the Racing Post that day. And he actually said after the race, I think you'd only had one winner, hadn't you?
Yeah.
He actually said after the race, like, we were sussing the best jockey available, and all the reports I got were that Finny at the moment was the best available. And I'm sure you read the quotes after the race. For a jockey to hear that on your, you know, when you've only ridden one winner, it must be a huge confidence booster. When Dermot Weld, like he's a master, like.
Yeah, it was great. And Dad rode winners for Dermot. I think he won a Galway plate for him. You know, so it was unbelievable, like, to get the call to ride the horse. Whitey O'Guan was his name, for Dermot in Galway that year.
That's the picture of him there. You can just see, I presume, Whitey named for his face.
That's Neptune.
Is it? Okay.
That was at Christmas now at Leopardstown.
That was unlucky, Ger. That was a big white face and the horse was called Whitey. That was unlucky.
So yeah, but to get that ride in Galway was unbelievable. And it kind of...
You're 16 at that stage still?
Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it?
4 years ago. So kind of went by in a blur, but the horse won, thank God, and I've had a nice association with Mr. Weld since. So
tell us about Neptune then at Leopardstown, will you?
Yeah. I've ridden him a few times. I rode him first time out in Galway, and
take that pick back up.
He's by Galileo, which is a bit unusual for a bumper horse.
Right.
He's got really good pedigree. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. But so he's by Galileo and he's a colt and he wears blinkers, so it's not your usual bumper combination, but it was effective that day anyway, and he won well. It was 2.5 miles. He stays really well. So it was great.
I was just saying to Finny beforehand, I think you've only had 23 rides at Leopardstown. For an amateur jockey, 23 rides. He's had 6 winners out of them.
That's strike rate ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had a tenner on each of them, you'd be nearly 400 quid in profit. Like, so for a track like Leopardstown, where the bumpers are very competitive, that's a ridiculously good strike rate. Can
you just explain to us why it's unusual for a colt having blinkers in a bumper at Leopardstown? What's unusual about that? A Galileo colt?
Well, his by Galileo is obviously the best sire there is, like, and obviously he's had his quirks, and to even end up in a bumper was probably not the ideal scenario at the start. You know, they probably had grand plans for a horse like that. So it's obviously a little bit disappointing that he's running in bumpers for starters.
As in, this should be a flat horse,
a derby horse or something. Yeah, exactly. So and then the fact that he wears blinkers, like, he'd been second a good few times, hadn't he, before he won at Leopardstown. So he's obviously not the easiest ride in the world. And even at Leopardstown, a horse that runs this weekend called All for Joy, got first run, and he had a good bit of ground to make up in the home straight.
Yeah.
And now he's been beaten since, but he just took off. And I'd say he's the type of horse, when you do catch him on a going day, and when his mind is on the game, like when his game is on, he's a pretty good horse. He's a little bit just hard to predict.
Yeah. To be fair to him, he ran very well first time out in Galway, finished 3rd, and he was very lazy with me in Downpatrick after that. And I think
what does that feel like? When you say he's very lazy, what do you mean?
Just the second we jumped off, he was off the bridle. He just wasn't helping me. I was really scrubbing him along all the way. He still finished 2nd, and then I think he ran in Navan then, and we went really steady, which didn't suit him. And it all came together in Leopardstown at Christmas.
So he needs quite a fast pace and needs to be interested.
Yeah, he's a galloper. So
yeah,
and the extra half mile in Leopardstown suited him as well.
And what are you saying in his ear when he's being lazy?
Just clicking him along and slapping and shoving. But yeah, no, to be fair to him, I know he wears blinkers, but he is quite genuine. He really does try.
Yeah.
And you saw that, like in Leopardstown, he was really only getting going at the end of 2.5 miles. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the sense, David, that this is kind of a new thing where these bumpers, the horses could end up literally anywhere in the world after performances like this.
Yeah, like Dr. Lam owns Neptune, so he'd obviously have a rich history in owning really good horses. These you never know, especially in bumpers at this time of year. You never really know what you're going to bump into, which is very strange for an amateur jockey. Like Finny is riding this weekend, the first time out horse for Liz Doyle, and that horse could be working at home, and it could be very, very nice. Finny will tell you more about it now, but like, you just have no idea what you're bumping into, because the horse you've ran against, a lot of them have never ran. Maybe some of them have ran once and needed to run, and it's a first race course experience, like first day at school.
Yeah.
You don't know how much they're going to improve. Whereas the graded races, you always know horses are rated. You know what they've done in the past. You've maybe got 5, 6, 10, 20 form lines to go on. So just in bumpers, for punters, it's a guessing game. And I'm sure for amateur jockeys, when they're going out trying to decide what way they're going to ride the horse, they don't really know what's going to make the running. They don't know what's going to sit last. So that's why I admire amateurs so much, in that they have to think on their feet during a race. And sometimes it's not easy. And a lot of these fellas are very, very young. Like Finny is still in the early stage of his career. So yeah, I really do admire amateurs for what they're doing.
Yeah, I guess my question really was, like, as you know, am I right in saying that it used to be, if you had a horse that was eventually going to be a hurdler, or was eventually going to be over fences, that you would, your first season along, you'd nurse them along through the bumpers, and then afterwards you graduate, depending on, and you get a sense of what distance they could run. Now you might end up running against horses that will just be flat horses for the rest of their career in some of these bumpers.
Yeah, well,
does that not happen?
Not really, no. Like, you wouldn't have. It'd be very seldom a horse would run in a bumper that would end up running in a flat race. Do you know what I mean? It'd just be that they'd.
So that horse, Neptune's gone now from the.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't go back. Like, he could be running in staying handicaps in years to come. Hopefully, he won't. But he could be running staying handicaps on the flat. It's a kind of like, I suppose, when he starts off in a bumper. Obviously just the natural pace, maybe.
It's an acceptance that you haven't got a horse that's going to make that flat.
Probably. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Now it might return. There's an awful lot of horses who are bred to run on the flat that go over jumps, and then later on in their career, when they get handicapped on the flat, they could run in big flat handicaps. So it's a tricky one to gauge, and you never know what you're going to get, I suppose, is the main thing.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And so, Finny, in terms of a season like this and being able to kind of go full time over the last since you finished college, has there been an improvement you find in your own skills, just kind of because you aren't studying as often as you were?
Yeah, fitness is definitely the main thing. Like when you're in college from Monday to Friday, not really able to ride out, you'll go to the gym and do a bit of running, but you know, your lungs just aren't as fit as when you're riding out every morning. So definitely a lot fitter now. So yeah, that is probably the only and the, you know, big difference.
Does that matter in the middle of a race?
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Like
whereabouts? Like what is the bit that actually leaves you exhausted?
Your legs really need to be strong and fit. Like when you're riding out every morning, you're using all the muscles you need for a race. So the more you ride out, the fitter you'll be. And
you're conscious of stuff as opposed to being in that unconscious state where you're supposed to actually be able to just kind of guide the horse to the direction you want it to go.
Yeah, sure. When you're fit and healthy, your mind's just on the race. You're not thinking of anything else. So
I remember talking to Keith Donoghue about this. He trained with Screen, which would be a football team, meet a senior team, and he plays a bit of junior with them. And he was saying when they be doing training, they might be doing, you know, January, February, March. You know, you do your stamina training for championship later on in the year. He was saying when he'd be doing the runs, he'd be miles clear of everybody else. Like in a different league fitness-wise, and they'd be a pretty fit team. They're one of the better senior teams in Meath. So that's the level that jockeys are at fitness-wise, which I think is a good comparison, because that's how fit you need to be to ride horses. And this is a senior football team that would have aspirations of winning the Keegan Cup in Meath, and he's the fittest. You know, I just thought that was interesting when he told me. Like,
yeah, and is it aerobic fitness? Is it like strength? Is it a combination of these?
Yeah, it's a combination of your strength to hold a horse that might be taking a hold with you, and you definitely your lungs as well. You know, you need to remember to keep breathing. You can't hold your breath. So it's a combination of a lot of things. It's kind of hard to understand until you do it. You know.
Yeah.
It's really, you really do need to be fit. So.
And so these last few months have obviously been great then, where you have been able to do that and kind of ride out every day, and you must be feeling much stronger.
Yeah, feeling good. Just need to get the good rides, the good horses.
Yeah, but they're coming thick and fast at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, we really had a great Christmas and had a lovely winner at Leopardstown last weekend as well. So, but until that, it was kind of slow start. Like from the start of the season, I've 7 winners now, but 4 of them are just in the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, okay. So
she's that Santa Rossa that he won on. It was actually the last race of the Dublin Racing Festival. She's a proper horse. I'd say she's very good.
Yeah, she could be anything, I'd say. To win a grade 2 like that, she must be very good.
When do you know you're getting on a horse like Santa Rossa? What's that process like for you at the moment?
Well, I was just lucky to pick up a spare ride on her now. I don't. Dermot McLaughlin is the trainer. I've never ridden for him before, and the ride became available. I think Mark O'Hare won on her first time out in Fairyhouse.
He picked another one in the race, didn't he?
He rode Gavin Cromwell's mare, who finished 3rd. But just fortunate for me, Dermot rang me, asked me was available, and I said yeah, and it was great.
During the week, like it's that?
Yeah, just a few days beforehand, yeah.
And so when that happens, are you looking again at videos to kind of see how that horse has run in the past? Are you ringing people to see, or is it just like, I'm going to just go and deal with what I encounter as I encounter it?
You definitely do a bit of homework, but she had only one run previous to Leopardstown, so I just watched that.
Yeah.
And you just pick up on little things, and I even had a quick chat with Mark O'Hare. I don't think he wanted to give too much information to me, but so it was great. She's very good now. I'd say she could be a grade 1 filly. You know.
She'll be going to Cheltenham. You could get the ride in her in Cheltenham.
Yeah, sure. If they want me, that'd be great. And
you're available.
That's it, definitely. Yeah.
Do you plan to go to Cheltenham anyway? Is that like? Do you have any rides booked?
No rides booked, but I'd love to go. We'll definitely be doing plenty of ringing around to try and pick up a few.
Yeah, you'll just happen to be over there on the day whenever it happens in case.
Yeah. Just there is a nice few amateur races there, so hopefully pick up 1 or 2 would be brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. Well, look, congratulations on everything so far, and it really seems like it's starting to work out for you. So at no point do you feel like the need to go professional? Did you talk to your dad about that? Like, because obviously that was an amazing professional career that he had, and you were going a slightly different route at the moment.
Yeah, sure. I do speak to Dad about everything in racing, but quite happy that what I'm doing at the moment
is the right thing.
Just I'm still only 20, so
yeah.
You know.
And if you were to go professional, would that what weight would you need to be making at that stage?
Well, I suppose I'd want to be kind of waking up maybe 7 pounds lighter. You know, just just to keep that weight off might be a bit of a struggle, but not impossible. It all depends on how hungry or how much you want
a bit of advice, Finny, you can just come my way if you want. I'll give you a bit of dietary advice. What are you laughing at?
But yeah, I suppose
what would that advice be, David?
Well, I haven't really come up with the advice yet, Ger, to be honest with you. But,
it does seem mad though that there's like still so many people in the industry who we talk to who do the starvation stuff and who are living on the cup of coffee as opposed to going to the gym and trying to, you know, like there's definitely an opening, it seems like, in the industry for somebody to go, there's a slightly better way to do this, lads. You know, the roadside sandwich is not the best.
Yeah, definitely. Nutrition is a massive part of it. Like, you can eat, if you're eating the right foods, you could eat more of them and feel fuller. You don't have to be starving if you're eating good food.
Yeah. It has improved though. Like, I did a piece with Adrian Maguire, who was the Turf Club medical officer, and like one of his big things was nutrition. Like, and I think like 10 years ago compared to now, there's no comparison. Like, so I think it certainly has. I don't know if you found that, but I think it has improved. But it's just, it's tough. It's definitely tough. Like, I didn't have lunch and I'm absolutely starving.
Yeah. Right, let's move on because there's a couple of races at the weekend that we want to talk about. Obviously, we're still, there'll be no racing in the UK for us to talk about this weekend. So we are going to talk here. So let me just remind everybody where we are in connection to the money that we've raised for charity so far. After a fantastic Dublin Racing Festival, our Tote Irish Injured Jockeys charity fund has jumped to €1,829.44. So Johnny Ward tipped Min, who romped home on Saturday, and La Bague au Roi obliged for Davy Russell on the Sunday. So 2 winners. This weekend the action comes from Naas and Punchestown, and we have a €100 bet courtesy of the Tote to try to add to our tally. Your bet is in the 350 at Punchestown on Sunday, and it's Riders in the Storm. Yeah.
When I heard there was a charity bet, I'm obviously only filling in for Johnny Ward. I said I have to make use of my big moment. So bit of effort went into this now. I just think Riders in the Storm, it's running a race for horses that were only rated 135 or lower over hurdles. And he was rated 132, and I always thought that he would make a much better chaser. He's trained by Tom Taff, of course, of Kicking King fame, who won a Gold Cup, and his 2 runs over fences were really eye-catching. First time out, he bumped into Mengley Khan and jumped really well that day. It was just a first day at school experiment. And then last time, in a Grade 1 at Limerick, he travelled as well as Get a Bird, as well as Hardline into the home straight, and then his class was just found out a little bit. But this is a big drop down in class, and Brian Cooper takes the ride, and I'll be bitterly disappointed if he doesn't win.
Okay, what should he go to post at?
I have a feeling he's one of these ones when betting opens up tomorrow, and they'll probably be betting on it quite early because there's no race in England. I'd say he'll open up probably 7-2 tomorrow, and I'd imagine he'll probably go off favourite maybe around 2-1 or so.
Okay, all right, so best price guarantee, of course, on all Irish racing this weekend. Check out thetote.com. You can enjoy the Tote versus SP best price guarantee, I should say, on all Irish racing this weekend. Thetote.com for more on that. There's a couple of other races. Do you like anything in that race? Do you watch all the racing? Like, are you kind of sitting at home watching everything, kind of see what's happening? Or are you kind of only interested in the horses that you're connected to and the yards that you're connected to?
Yeah, I always watch racing. I don't take a huge interest in form or betting of horses that I'm not involved in.
Yeah.
But I just kind of mainly ride horses. Not really interested in what's going to win a race that I'm not riding in. I just watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So also Punchestown, you like Ballycasey in the 145?
I do, yeah. Gorgeous grey horse. I think this horse might actually win at Cheltenham. He'd be running the Glenfarclas cross-country race, and this is probably a pipe opener for that. But he ran in Cheltenham in December, and then there was actually footage on the Racing Post website of Patrick Mullen schooling him. He just went over to school him over the cross-country course a couple of weeks ago, and he's just the type of horse that has taken really well to it. He was a really good novice chaser. He beat Don Cossack in a Grade 1, and I just think Patrick has his eye on another Cheltenham Festival winner, and Ballycasey could be it. He runs in the 145. I think he'll probably win that. Okay,
we also have Sinoria in the 220 Punchestown. Did I pronounce that right?
You did, yeah. Sinoria, yeah. She was entered in the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle at Leopardstown last weekend, but Henry de Bromhead took her out because the ground was just a little bit too quick. She's rated 128, so she's a bit of improvement to find, but a few very shrewd judges really fancied her last weekend, and they were devastated when she was taken out. She was favoured for that race. She's had to wait 7 days, but I think compensation could have waited. She was really good. She won at Down Royal on St Stephen's Day by 13 lengths from a horse called Calico Jack that's trained by Noel Meade. And they think quite a bit of that horse. So for Sinoria to beat him by 13 lengths I thought was a fair performance, so she should go close.
And where will we next then see Sonoria? Is that race something else that we're keeping as a pointer to Cheltenham too, or
this race here?
No, the Sonoria race, sorry. Yeah.
The Sonoria race, yeah. See, I'd say she could probably, if she won this, she could run in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham, but the owner and the trainer have got Honeysuckle, who's actually favourite for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham. So I'd imagine Punchestown and Fairyhouse would be the next port of call after this weekend. Okay, then the Grand National Trial at Punchestown. I'm just looking through the entries for this at this stage, and it's Don Poley, Moonbeg Notorious, Dunicos, Some Neck, You Can't Call Her That, General Principle, like loads of names that people will recognise from the last number of years. This is a good out race. Yeah, a lot of familiar faces, plenty of household names in here. Solomon Grundy is probably the most likely winner. He was well fancied for the Paddy Power at Leopardstown and didn't show up. But I'm going to take a flyer on one at a huge price. Now this will be a huge price. It's a horse called Wishmore, trained by Joseph O'Brien, ridden by Andrew Ring. Now, this horse has jumped deplorably on its last couple of starts. Like, it was desperate stuff altogether. He absolutely made a mess of about 2 or 3 fences at Navan, and he ran over hurdles last time, hopefully to get his confidence back. I always thought there was a big handicap chase in him. He used to be trained by Mouse Morris, and he's down to a mark of 130 now over fences, and I just think someday he's just going to pop up at a huge price and win a big handicap, and I'm just hoping this will be the day. Andrew Ring, who rides him, actually almost won the Kerry National last year for Joseph on Archrist. He was just beaten on the line, and he's actually quite good lightweight jockey in these stay-in chases. This could be 33 to 1 now, but I think he could run well, Wishmore. We like those big odds punts. It's okay, Johnny Ward is back next week, so I won't have to defend myself. No, that's cool. Wishmore, that's the Grand National Trial at 4:20 at Punchestown. Have you got anything booked this weekend? Yeah, 2 rides this weekend. One for Liz Doyle tomorrow in Naas, Baron de Mott, he's a nice horse, and another nice ride for Jessica Harrington on Sunday. A mare who's won a point, so definitely two chances now, looking forward to them. And so when you're going into those races, how much do you need to know about the opposition? Like, you know, it's great to do work on your own horse, obviously, but do you try and see how everybody else travels, or do you leave that kind of up to the trainer, so the trainer knows what the quality of the field is and gives you some instructions, okay, ride this near the front, or what's that whole relationship like? You definitely look at the race yourself and see what's fancied, you know, what's ran before, is there any pace? You have all that in your head, and then you talk to your trainer, and then you'd usually do what they say. But you always have some sort of... Usually do what they say. I like that. There's you have improvisation. You have a bit of a plan in your head, but... is that a discussion? Like, is that a, look, I've looked at this is what I think, am I right or wrong? Or is it like, listen, this is what we're doing? Depends who you're riding for. Some people will be very vague with their instructions and will just leave it up to you, you know, which is grand, but and other people then would have a stronger opinion how the horse should be ridden. So how in the middle of a race do you decide what you're going to do? Like, how much consciousness is there of, okay, look, we're travelling really well, everything else isn't, I'm going to go now, or I'm going to stay now? How does that work? Yeah, sure, like, you have your plan beforehand, but once you jump off in a race, you know, you're kind of going on your instincts. Like, something mightn't go right at the start, you might miss the kick, you might be further back than you wanted to be, and you just have to improvise. Like, you know, just, I suppose the main thing is not to panic when plan A isn't working, and you can go to plan B or C. How much can you see? That's the other thing I'm always interested in. So you can see what's in front of you. You can't see much, you know, from your shoulders back unless you turn your head, but you know, if anything's happening around, usually the jockeys will be talking to each other and give you a shout for a bit of light if someone's coming in or out. So, as in, if you're in the way, they're like, get out of my way, kind of. Yeah, exactly. Who's the most vocal jockey that you've ridden against? Is there anybody that kind of wouldn't be afraid to tell you you're not going there? Patrick Mullins. Really? Definitely, yeah. Very vocal. What kind of stuff? Sure. Just, you know, whatever, I don't know, but he just definitely, but like, not in a bad way now. Like, if down at the start, if there's a few lads, you know, that are kind of messing up the start, you know, Patrick will straighten them out. But I think you need someone like that when no one's saying anything at the start or anything. It can be very messy. So one of the senior lads to keep us all in line is not a bad thing. Yeah, and someday that's going to be you, one of the senior lads. I don't know. Yeah, I know. How far away is that, do you think, where you kind of feel like, okay, I'm here now on merit, I've done this? Because 4 years is a blink of an eye, but it's also, you know, you're not quite seasoned just yet, but you're getting there. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Like, I've only been riding 4 years, but
you know, it's been going well, and hopefully keep riding for another while. I'm enjoying it, so as long as I'm enjoying it, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. Great having you with us this week, Finny. Thanks very much for travelling up from Kildare. And David Jennings filling in ably for Johnny Ward, and maybe even tipping a massive prize winner for us as well. Lads, enjoy the weekend. Thanks very much for talking to us this Friday. Friday Night Racing is, of course, brought to you by GoRacing.ie. Check out GoRacing.ie before you make any of your racing decisions, or indeed if you just want to see what the race cards are for the racing here in Ireland. Loads of great information on the site that you can get there too. Thanks very much. That's Friday Night Racing. We've been live across all of our social platforms on offtheball.com as well, and we've been live on the radio this evening at 8 o'clock. If you've been listening there, thanks very much for being part of that too. You can always text your opinions on 53106. Cheers.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
And they're off. Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.